clicker or something like that? All right, perfect. We're living in some crazy times. You have to wrap up the mic. Crazy times.
For your protection.
Absolutely. All right, so basically, some of you know me, probably the majority you don't. But I'm Nasar, aka the Real Estate Guru. So my slogan is, not a guru, I'm a guru because I actually do this business. Okay, so when I launched my YouTube channel in 2012, there was a lot of fake stuff out there, and I just wanted something real to the market and to create my own niche. And just by being authentic and being real, because what I seen out there, it was a bunch of watered down stuff and people talking about techniques that wasn't working during the recession. So that's how I came up with my stuff. And my boy CJ, personal friend of mine, well, let me just correct him. If you want a brand new BMW, just make sure you can afford it. That's it. Just make sure you can afford it. This business is wonderful. I'm a guy, 1.8 GPA, from the other side of the tracks. And I was able to go pick up my BMW from the factory down in South Carolina. So, and those things can happen through this business. You know, they built my car, picked it up, put me in a hotel room and all that, but it all started with a dream. Pressing the wrong button. All right, I got it. So, let's get into it. So, who is Nasar? Nasar means victorious. That's what Nasar means. Nasar's Arabic name means victorious. High school, I had a 1.8 GPA. I'm one of them guys, I went to high school because everybody else was there. You know, that's why I was there. Everybody else was there. And even though I was in class, I didn't do nothing in class. I was class clown, best dressed, and that was, you know, my claim to fame. You know, I went there for that purpose. You was fit, right? Like, with a 1.8 GPA, you might as well not be in. But that didn't make sense to me. Because the guys who dropped out of school would still come up to school. So that just didn't, hey, I might as well be in here, you know, and have a good time. So, yeah, I was in there, 1.8 GPA, barely graduated college. The same habits I had in high school, I took right along with me to college. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah, I pretty much screwed myself. So, I remember I stayed on campus my first year. And after that, I realized I need to work on me. And I was only like 19. I knew I had problems. You know you got problems when you're 19. You know you got problems. So, you know, like I went away to college. Only things I did was I ate, work out, and sleep. I did go to class, but I might as well not been there. You know, because it was like the same grade. I wasn't there. So after 1 year of staying on campus, I think the last school I went to, because it took me 6 years to 4 schools. So the second school I went to, staying on campus, I'm like, man, my GPA was 0.6. You know what I mean? Like, so I outdid 1.8. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I said, I'm at 0.6, and I'm taking out loans. This don't make sense. I need to really figure this out. So I withdrew myself from school. After withdrawing myself from school, I went to community college. Finished up at community college, and then I transferred to four-year university and graduated with a degree in media and film. The reason why I took media and film was because it did not have math involved. So, don't do that either. So yeah, it did not have math involved. You know, but I interned at MTV and VH1 News, which that would probably mean something if you're the media field. But once you leave the media field, that just doesn't mean absolutely nothing. Yeah. So I got fired from my highest paying job. My highest paying job was $38,000 a year. I had my bachelor's degree, and I got fired from performance. And one of those things, me getting fired from performance, you know how you could, well, I don't know if you can do this now, but back in the day, you could like Google resumes. So that's exactly what I did. I Googled the resume. Yo, this resume looked good. Got the job. It worked. I don't know if you can do that now, but I got the job and it really worked. But what you shouldn't do, and this is the lesson of this talk, don't, like if it says you're a master in Microsoft Suite, like they're gonna find out you're not a master in Microsoft Suite. That's how I got fired, you know. They gave me them Excel sheets and told me to make a pie chart. That didn't last long at all. So, anyway, get fired from the job, turn my business to a 6-figure business, and then to a 7-figure business. All through doing this full time and focusing on, you know, this business. You know, just focus on it and making it happen, man. You know, don't let a bad start, you know, make you finish last in life. A bad start does not mean you have to finish last in life. Just always remember this: a jet takes majority of the fuel on takeoff. Okay? So once you take off, it's smooth sailing from there. Okay, so let's talk about my introduction to real estate, right? So it's not what it seems, right? So, you know, some people Google me on social media, you see me post these chats and have all this success, but it didn't necessarily start like that. There's a lot of trials and tribulations. Okay, so I was inspired by, at 19, I overheard my father talking to his friend about our neighbor. Our neighbor sold the house to an investor for $150. The investor put $20,000 into it. The investor sold it for $270. So here it is. I'm 19. I'm like, I got the real estate. But me being 19, who do I talk to about real estate? My father, who doesn't do real estate. We'll get into that. So I knew at that moment it was for me, right? And so he said, hey, go talk to my friend who fixes credit and you can buy a house. So I was 19, I didn't have any credit. So I talked to his friend, he told me how to establish credit. And fast forward to 2007, bought my first house. All right, that's great, right? But me and my partner, we was watching those flip those house shows, right? So me and my partner, we felt as though like, man, this is easy, we can do this. Now, we had the money, to fix it up. We just need to go get a loan. And at that time, I don't know if you guys are familiar, you were around during that 2007 thing, like literally anybody could get a loan. Like when people say all you needed was a pulse, they're really not lying. So the loan officer told you what you need, if that makes sense. So of course we had the 2008 financial crisis, you know what I mean? Because the loan officer told you what you made. And he told me what I made, we got the house, we closed on it. Everything went wrong. Rehabbing, that is a different animal. It's a wild beast. It can be mastered, it can be dialed in, but that first one we definitely messed up pretty bad. So we ended up losing $14,000, $7,000 a piece. 2008, I moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I purchased a property, rental property in 2008 and in 2009. I'm doing this the traditional way. At the time, Charlotte was cheap. When I say traditional way, meaning that I don't know anything about creative real estate as of right now, what I'm doing is I am going to get my first job was $10 an hour. First house I bought was $42,000. I said, this is cheap, you know? And at the time when I lost money, I didn't quit because I was young and I was just too stupid to quit at the time, you know? So I bought this rental property. I'm like, well, it's $42,000. My mortgage is $350, rent for $750. Maybe I just need to rent houses now. We're in 2008, so I did that. I bought that. 2009, I did it again. Bought another rental with my W-2 job. Not knowing I'm doing this the correct way. I'm thinking I'm the worst investor in the world, which I was. I was just basically throwing rice at the ceiling, seeing what stick. It was nothing strategic about my model. So I bought another property in 2009. Then I went to go buy a third property because in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to buy a bunch of properties and then exit my job. Went to go buy a third property. The loan officer said, now at this time I'm making about $12 an hour. The loan officer said, man, your debt to income is too high. And I said, what that mean? He said, man, you got too much debt and not enough income. So I can't buy another house, I'm afraid not. So in my mind, I'm thinking my real estate investing career is over. Like, there's nothing left and I'm done. So I'm like, man, I gotta sell this stuff. Of course, I tried to sell one and we're in a recession and, you know, I bought in a terrible area and nobody bought it. So I'm like, man, I'm stuck. But I read this book, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one thing I learned about the book was, one thing I learned in the book, I totally messed up and missed the whole step. The book said, before learning in real estate investing, you have to learn about real estate investing. Before investing in stocks, you have to learn about stocks. So at my call, I'm reading this at the call center right now. So at my job, I put the book down. I said, wait. I never learned about real estate investing. Like I never took time to learn about real estate investing. I watched a TV show, you know, and I just went out there and did it. So I'm like, wait, maybe I need to learn about real estate investing. So how do I learn about real estate investing? So what happens next is I met somebody sent me reading the book at the call center and said, hey, yeah, you should join the REIA. They got one in Charlotte, real estate investment club, man. Yeah, so we exchanged numbers, and I joined my local REIA. And I was so serious about this business, I started volunteering. I volunteered for them probably about 2 years straight. You know, just getting up the information, soaking up the knowledge. I used to have to use my PTO to go to their main meetings on Thursday because I worked second shift. But for me, it was a sacrifice necessary to make because I knew I did not want to be in the call center the rest of my life. So I made the proper sacrifices, joined my REIA, and I learned about something, creative real estate investing, 2010. So 2010, I learned about creative real estate. I learned about this niche, wholesaling, and it said, you know, basically no money, no credit. So I'm like, no money, no credit. I said, all right, so I don't have any credit anymore. They say I can't buy the house. I don't have a lot of money. This is me. This is me. I'm all in. So that's when I found out about wholesaling, and I was totally sold on wholesaling. Like, yo, I'm gonna make this work. This is what it's gonna do. This is what it's gonna be. All right. So what is wholesaling, right? So real estate, right? And let me say this, right? You notice how I started with a fix and flip, and I ended up losing money. And being involved in this business since 2007, you learn that the majority of people, they either break even or lose money on their first flip. Flipping is a different animal. I'm not saying you can't start that way. You absolutely can. But just know, this has a lot less risk involved in it than flipping, and we'll get into that. So in real estate wholesaling, right? Basically what you do, you're finding properties at deep discounts. So that's what I do. I wake up and find properties at deep discounts, what my team does. And from us finding these properties at deep discounts, we contract that property. And once we contract that property, we then market to a buyer. And from marketing it to a buyer, we then send everything. I'm in North Carolina, we use attorneys. We send everything to the attorney. It closes, etc. We get our check. So, what are we looking for? We're not looking for properties on sale. We're not looking for properties for sale. We're looking for properties on sale. That's what we do. Not for sale, but on sale. You know, we're not going to. I don't go to realtors to find properties or anything like that, unless it's like a pocket listing. But that we're just looking for distressed sellers. Now, distressed sellers, what is that? Sometimes people inherited a house, however, they live across town. So being that they live across town, and now that they inherit this house is an inconvenience because they have a house over here. So that's an inconvenience. Sometimes people get behind in taxes and realize the house is a burden, they just can't afford the house. Okay? Sometimes, well, all the time people die, unfortunately. You know, that's just something that's guaranteed in their life. So, and they have real estate, and the family needs to liquidate. People get older. People need to downsize. Job relocation. All these things can happen with, you know, when we're looking for properties in real estate investing, we're looking for different situations, you know, to purchase the properties to make it a win-win. So for an example, right? So let's say somebody inherited the property, right? They inherited the property, and you know in this particular areas that properties sell for $100,000, right? You know that these properties cost 100, and you come across somebody saying, hey, listen, I know this house is worth, we just want to get rid of it. The house is in West Palm Beach, which we know we get $100,000, $40,000 a year, but the house is in West Palm Beach, and I live in North Dakota, and I don't want to come back and forth. We just want to get rid of it. We want $40,000. Let's say, hey, you want 40? Let's sign a contract, and we'll make that happen. You sign a contract, and then you sell it, you turn around, you look for a cash buyer. Now, I don't care what market you're in, but any market right now, you can pretty much store a rock and get a cash buyer. So, any market. So, you find a cash buyer for $50,000. So, let's say you're in Florida. If you're in Florida, you're then going to send that over to the attorney. And at closing, when the buyer wires in the $50,000 plus closing costs, you pick up your check for $10,000. Now, most people in this country, unfortunately, don't make $10,000 a month. So that can be life-changing just doing this once a month. That's $120,000 a year. I recently read a statistic. I have not verified it, but it basically said at less than 16% of Americans make $100,000 a month. I haven't verified that, but you know, you'll be in the top percentage of income earners just by making $100,000 or more. You know, some of us are spoiled when we live in places like West Palm Beach or in a major city, etc. We think that having a high salary is normal, but around the rest of the country, yeah, that's not normal at all. What is needed in wholesaling? Perseverance, determination, hustle, phone, internet. You know, may or may not need a laptop. Me, I'm from the old school, I need a laptop to bust open. Some of these people, or a lot of people, they do everything with the phone. So you can literally get away with this business by just doing everything with your smartphone. With me, I like the laptop. But these are the things that's needed. It's not a certain amount of money needed to wholesale. You don't need a certain amount. You don't have to have X amount saved. You just need work ethic. And one thing about me, whatever, is just I dealt with my reality. And I knew at the time when I was in the call center that my reality pretty much sucked. So, being that my reality sucked, I didn't want that. I stayed consistent with what I wanted in life. There's many times I wanted to quit. It's easy to quit. It's easy not to get up on Saturday morning and drive for dollars. And a lot of people quit this business. The reason why they quit is because they don't understand that working for themselves is something that's going to pay off later. Because they've been getting a paycheck for so long, they look for a direct result, which is not reality a lot of times. It takes time. So, my journey to my first business, I had to recondition my mind. I didn't start reading books till 26. All throughout high school and college, I cheated, you know. And I graduated college in 07. And back then, when I graduated college, we didn't have that turnitin.com, where the kids got to turn it in to make sure they didn't plagiarize. So I was buying whole papers online and just not reading and giving it to the teacher. So, yeah, it got me through. I finished. I didn't quit. I was outsourcing. So, I was hip. You know, I was hip to outsourcing. So, yeah, I was doing it before the Ford factories and all that. It was outsourcing, you know, just, hey, go online. I got a checkbook. How much this costs? Great. Let's do it. So, I had to recondition my mind. What I mean by recondition my mind, I was so caught up and sold on shortcuts. I was so caught up and I was sold on shortcuts, right? That's what I wanted. I always wanted a shortcut. And I had to realize that. And I realized that through reading, that the reason why I was in this call center making $12 an hour, and the situation I didn't want to be, I'm driving this car that I got to hope make it to work on Monday. The reason why, because I always took shortcuts. I never wanted to go through the process and do the work, right? I always took shortcuts. And I don't know if you guys know when you're driving a hoopty. Let's say you're driving a hoopty, you finally get a ride around to saving $450. Without hoopty's gonna break down, it's gonna cost $422 to fix. I don't know what it's about that, but the cars know exactly how much you gotta save and he put them on your road. That's just how that works. So you know how some people you see them and won the lottery or they ran into some money, they messed their life up, and they said, man, things were so simple when I was broke. Well, not me, things was hard when I was broke. You know, so I don't want to go back to being broke. So, all right, I stopped listening to music in my car. I had to stop listening to music. And one of the reasons I read in multiple books, it all said the same thing, which is musicians and athletes, they're living their dreams. You're not living your dreams. You need to focus on you. So I stopped listening to music and I started listening to audiobooks. Now we're talking 2010 and 2011, and back then everything used to come on CDs. Now I didn't do this cold turkey. I don't have the perfect story. The only time you see somebody has the perfect stories, you read the fairy tales and books, this is reality. What I used to do is I listen to one audiobook and then I'll put my music back on until eventually I stopped just listening to music for a period of time just so I can recondition my mind. So don't think you don't have to go cold turkey. If you don't read books, they have audiobooks, okay? On your phone. You can download Audible, get the books, listen to those. If it takes you too much of your habit, just start off by reading 10 pages at night next to the bed. Just have your book next to your bed and read 10 pages. All right, it took me 8 months to get my first deal. It took me 8 months. 8 months of work to get my first deal. My first deal, I made, $3,000 or $2,000 I made my first deal. I think it was $2,000. And to pay my mentor, I took on $1,300. So it wasn't life-changing money. This is back in 2011. And now it's hard to find the sellers, easy to find the buyers. At that time, it was easier to find sellers, hard to find buyers, especially in lower class neighborhoods. So all I made was $2,000 and I was good with that. I said, all right, brother, I got proof of concept. This thing really works. So I went all in. All right, so I'm not just going to get up here and tell you these these stories of how wonderful I am, or how bad my life started. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to give you some information, some actionable knowledge where you can take, and do what you need to do. All right? How to find a motivated sellers, right? One thing in this business, you're going to be marketing, right? And one thing about marketing, one thing about marketing, right? Once you learn how to find a good deal, no matter what aspect of real estate you pursue, this is the foundation of finding a good deal. Whether you're in development, whether you're buying multifamily, whether you're in building, flipping, wholesaling, the foundation and the most important part is finding a good deal, right? So, how to find motivated sellers? If you're broke, I was broke when I started. I didn't drive for dollars. There's an app for that now. I started off with pen and paper. The pen and paper was very time consuming. It can get done with pen and paper, but there's an app. That's DORU.com. If you use that, you get 110 free scripts or about 35 mail pieces. And if you do it within a 7-day free trial. So don't download it until you're ready to do it, because if you do that in a 7-day free trial, you get it free. If you want to cancel after that, so be it. Just do that. This business can be done on pen and paper. So don't think that you have to spend a bunch of money. No, the information's out there. It's just that you have to be willing to work. All right. Let's say you're in a better position. You can buy a list. DORUlist.com or any broker. Right? If it's your first time ordering, you can put the code DORU20 in and get 20%. And one of the lists I like is absentee low credit. Absentee low credit is something that we do very well with in my business. You might have to play with the parameters to make sure you have enough leads, but I I can get that from DORUlist.com. DORU data, aka PropStream. If you sign up for a subscription, you're eligible for up to 10,000 leads a month. You know, now that may sound good, but if you don't have money to skip trace 10,000 leads a month, it might not be, you might not need that right now. It's great for finding cash buyers and everything else, and it's something my team we use in our business, but you know, just do what's best for your pockets. After I get my data, right? I get my data, I go to bigskiptracer.com. I upload the list on bigskiptracer.com, and then I get their phone numbers. Okay, now, texting or cold calling. This is what we're using in my business currently. We're using texting or cold calling. Now, you guys are in Florida, so I would strongly recommend to make sure you scrub your list. If you use DORU data, they'll scrub it for you, and make sure you're not calling somebody on the do not call list. Because there are a lot of lawsuits, and usually they're floating around, a lot of them are floating around Florida. You do not want to call somebody on the do not call list. Testing is a gray area, because you're not necessarily soliciting. All right, so, but DORUtesting.com is what I use, and we send out a bunch of texts, and you know, we screen them and we try to get deals. Those are two primary ways: cold calling and testing. That's what we do. You know, in my particular business to get deals every month. Also, with cold calling, depending on where you're from, you can also get a vanity number. You don't want to cold call or send a bunch of texts with a Google Voice number. The reason being, Google Voice will shut you down for spam. You will not be allowed to get another one. So I do use a Google Voice, but I use that for other reasons. After the first contact with the sellers to call them on my way, etc. I don't use that as a technical cold caller because, again, if you do a lot of that, you will get flagged and they will not let you open up another one. All right, so what do you say to the seller, right? Like what do you tell them? What do you say? Hello, this is John Smith. Are you open to selling 1, 2, 3 Main? A text can literally be that simple. Literally. You're calling. Ask open-ended questions. To give a good example of a script, I have a Facebook group, Wholesaling with the DORU, or my ebook, which is free. This is free. Just give me out the stuff away for free. So you can take it later. So, freenasbook.com, and my ebook, you'll get that for my first one, you'll get that for free. And with that, you can use the scripts in there. And what I used to do when I first got started in this business, I used to have cue cards, and I wrote down the open-ended questions that I would ask the sellers. And you ask open-ended while you're asking open-ended questions. I'm doing my research on my laptop, right? Doing my research on my laptop to try to get values and get an idea of where I need to be. You know, going to an appointment or closing over the phone, right? So we do appointments, we do some stuff virtual. It's just we fill out the seller, right? We fill out, if we can get the deal done over the phone, then we'll do that. But sometimes we have to, you know, we do appointments as well. So, communications is a very important aspect of life, right? What I did when I was in the corporate setting, back when I had a job, I used to go to Toastmasters, Toastmasters.com, and it works on your public speaking skills, works on your public speaking skills and your leadership ability. It's a great organization. It's not free. If you work for a Fortune 500 company, check to see if they offer any discounts or benefits. Because when I was at my company at the time, they did. So, and you can get the discounted rate. So just, you know, look into that. But it's a great way to work on your communication skills. So. All right, so research your properties, pulling comps. Pulling comps is something that you will always do. It's extremely important. Because let's say you don't know that property is worth $100,000. Well, how do you find out that property is worth $100,000? DORUdata.com, the 7-day free trial, and that's It's, free. You can look at the comps, Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor. With Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor, I do not look at the estimates. I do not look at the estimates. I'm only paying attention to the souls. I just want to see souls. I don't want an opinion. I want the actual sold comps. So each of those offer those, so you can look at those as well. On the appointment, you want to build a rapport. Okay? So what I mean by that, if you walk into a house down here, they have a Tampa Bay flag up or a Miami Dolphins flag up, whatever the case may be, hey, I like the Dolphins, etc. If you're familiar with sports, start talking about that. My grandfather, he was a veteran. He served in World War II. I go into a house, we'll start talking about, service in the country, etc. You want to build a rapport with the seller. And that's just a part of the sales process. People do business with people that they like, so yes. In the meantime, with me, right, I don't go in people's houses and beat up the house, right? I don't beat up the house at all, right? So, for example, if I see a crack in the wall, I'll just stare at it, touch it, go up and down. And the next thing you know, somebody will be like, oh, yeah, we had a water leak, but, we fixed it. Yeah, it's a crack in the foundation and it came up, So, okay. But I don't beat up the house and say, oh, this house needs that and needs this. A lot of the times, people know that they have an eyesore. So they don't need me to drill them that this house is terrible. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Because I've seen that go wrong for a lot of people, and I come behind and I get the deal. So, I take pictures of the property. By me going out taking pictures of the property, I then go, I got a Google folder my team uses, and let's say we'll call it 2022 houses. And 2022 houses, if we go to 123 Main Street, we'll have a subfolder called 123 Main Street in there. And then we share it with the team. And then when we send it out to buyers later and we get the contract, all I gotta do is share that link. Okay, all I do is share that link. They can go through the link and look at the different the pictures of the house. Because your more sophisticated buyers, they can make a decision based on pictures. Sometimes they can't, but a lot of times they can. I buy a lot of houses sight unseen. Sometimes it bites you in the rear end, sometimes it works out great. So, if you're doing this business virtual, right? You're doing it virtual in another city. You can't make it BPO photo flow. They will go out and take the pictures for you. It's not a free service. You do have to pay for it. I want to say it's like $100 or so, but they'll go out and they'll take the pictures for you. You want to learn negotiations. Read negotiation books. You can sign contracts in person or virtually, right? If you don't have contracts, I didn't have contracts when I started, so what I had to do, I built a relationship with somebody at my REIA. I said, hey, can you send me a contract and email me over the contract? I printed it out, filled it out, and I got my first deal. So you can go to Real Estate DORU, but the better site is DORUcontracts.com, DORUcontracts.com, DORU contracts.com. You can get free contracts, totally free. You get the contract and the assignment. It's in Word format, so all you have to do is just change where it says North Carolina, etc., and put it in. I've been giving out that contract for years, and people have been having success with it all over the country. And the most important part, right? Just do the ethical and do the right thing at all times. Okay, that's the most important part. There's a lot of regulation coming down the pipeline, and it will eventually, come through all states. But just do the right thing and do the ethical. If, put yourself in the person's shoes, okay? Especially if it's an elderly person. Do you want somebody doing your grandmother or grandfather like that, etc.? So do the right thing at all times, right? And make sure you educate yourself on this business. So somebody, a friend of mine, contacted him because they got arrested, okay? They were trying to wholesale a house and they got arrested. Let me tell you what they did. They got a verbal from the woman from the elderly woman. They got a verbal. They did not sign the contract. So then, being that they got a verbal, they went on Facebook Marketplace and blasted this address trying to sell this lady's house. So so it got back to her, so she was thinking, oh my God, that's scam, somebody stole my house. She called the police. This person did indeed get locked up. I forgot what they charged him for, but just do the right thing. Get the house under contract. Okay? Get the house under contract. So follow the right steps. Marketing for cash buyers. This is extremely easy. I'm quite sure. Raise your hand if you're a cash buyer here. All right, so you see all the hands that went up, you can talk to them after I finish, you can talk to them, get their business cards, see where they're buying at, most importantly. And if you work that market, but yeah, I'm sure. You can talk to John, talk to, people who put this together, etc. Hey, can I have your email just in case I send you some deals in the email in the area? But it's literally extremely easy to find cash buyers. Don't let nobody tell you this is difficult, okay? So, DORU.com, you get cash buyers. This is why I like it. You can pretty much pull this, cash buyers, comps. You can do the whole shebang off of it. That's why I like to use it. Everything you pretty much need to do research to see if an area is a good area to invest in or not. You can do that on there. Local meetups. I told you I got my start at my local REIA. The Metro Line REIA in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I got my start. Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is just want to be careful with it. So when I got started, Craigslist was the go-to for people, all right? And at one point, people would meet to sell on Craigslist and turn around and sell it to a cash buyer on Craigslist. But then Craigslist got so watered down with filth that, people don't use it. But the same thing that happened with Craigslist going on with Facebook Marketplace, so eventually I will probably fade out as well. However, what I do, if I have to advertise a deal on Facebook Marketplace, I don't put the address. I let people inbox me so I know what the address is. I do use Facebook Marketplace rarely, but I do use it. So just be careful with it. Let them inbox you for the address. Real estate groups, right? So you would do, if you're looking for West Palm Beach, like West Palm Beach real estate investors, okay? Like in North Carolina, we have North Carolina real estate investors, Charlotte real estate investors, right? Just, that major city and real estate investors and Facebook groups. I've sold deals in these groups, I bought deals in these groups, but it definitely works. Once they look at the property and want to buy, you can then assign them a contract. They might ask to see the contract, which is fine. If you want to black out the numbers on it, you can. But most cash buyers know if they got a deal that works for them, they better not walk because of, they feel as though you're making too much. So, but cash buyers, you just assign them the contract. When you assign them the contract, all you have to do is you say, all right, well, I need a $2,000, $1,000, $3,000 deposit. I pay as high as $5,000 deposits for a deal. You can go as high as you feel comfortable with. But if you don't get a deposit, their phone will break before closing. And you will be left stranded. It's something about not giving a deposit where it makes their phone breaks. So don't do that. So make sure you get a deposit from them so their phone won't break. So, and you want to verify that. Keep shopping around, take that deposit. If somebody gives me a verbal that they're going to buy it today, I might give them till Monday at 5 o'clock to get the deposit in. Or I'll meet up with them and get it. But for the most part, we just have them wire it into the attorney and drop it off to the attorney. And we verify it from there. And then once they do it, then, all right, the property is actually yours, and we'll go through the title search situation. All right, if you want my contracting assignment, DORUcontracts.com. All you have to do is just put your name and your email in, and then I'm going to give you that for free. All right. So we just give that out. You can utilize that. So I'm hoping with those contracts, we use these contracts. We do 7 figures gross every year. So the last few years, So I'm hoping that, you can have success with these contracts as well. It's all about putting in the work. It's simple, but it's not easy. There will be times where you where you want to give up, but what you want to do is you want to focus on why are you in this business. What is your why? If your why doesn't make you cry, it's probably not strong enough, because it will get tough. Sometimes I wake up and say, I would have quit, but I just keep going, so it happens. You will doubt yourself. It's part of life. But what I try to do is I put myself around positive people. CJ was just talking to them, me and him have a great relationship. I have other positive people. My social media line is full of, people that's actually doing something in life, so therefore, I'm always inspired. You don't want to be around naysayers. It's easy to go out and find negativity. All you have to do is turn on the news. Just walk outside and complain about something. You have 50 people, yeah, you're right, man, and they need to do this, they need to do that. People will focus on the problem and not the solution, and you don't want that in your mind. You want to focus on the solution and bettering yourself. It's easy to point the finger at someone else, okay? Very easy, but that's not the best solution. Okay, we're getting close to the end, all right? Everybody still up? Yeah. Good. So you want to send to the title company. Down here in Florida, you guys use title companies, right? You want to, eventually what you want to do is start using the same one if you're going to be in that particular market. There was actually a title company outside. You get their car and start sending them stuff. And the title companies outside ideally are the ones you want to use. Why is that? Because they work with real estate investors. Because when you're talking to a title company or an attorney, depending on the state that you're in, when you're talking to them, you ask them, hey, do you work with real estate investors? You might say, yeah, no, whatever the case may be. Well, do you do assignments? What's that? Then that's a bad sign. You move on, okay? Do you do if they say they don't know what assignments is, then I'll just, move on. Sometimes I ask them, hey, do you do double closes? Oh, no, we don't do those. Okay, well, then I want to move on. So you want somebody who works with real estate investors, so the title companies outside, make sure you get their card, because they work with real estate investors. They understand what we do. We come with some wild stuff, and they know how to sort through that stuff, okay? If you go to a normal title company that only deal with retail sellers and retail buyers, they don't get that wild stuff like we do. Sometimes we might get properties 8 years involved, and only one will live in Florida, And so all these documents got to go out, etc. And you might go to one title company, they might say, oh, look, I'm not dealing with this. Nah, you can go somewhere else with this, But you go with a title company that works with real estate investors, they'll ask you, hey, just make sure everybody's on board and we can get this done. But that happens more often than you think. All right, so once the title companies, they do the title search, right? And at closing, once the buyer wires the money, you pick up your check. On the other is going to be the assignment fee. You can pick up a check or you can collect the wire out. You can go up and pick it up, etc. In North Carolina, the wire fraud is so high. Some attorneys on these assignment fee, they want you to get a check. Because there's so much wire fraud going on right now. But depending on it, you just pick up your money, but that's basically the whole process, right? And, all right, so this is my stuff, my Instagram, my free Facebook group, free ebook. I got a free course, right? The course is free. It's a 9-week course, right? And with this 9-week course, over the course of 9 weeks, all right, so you get a video 1 week and then the second week, it's not broke. That's the way it goes. It's 9 weeks. So that's why it's a 9-week course. So I give you a free wholesaling course free, okay? So also I got a 10-step cheat sheet, basically all this information I can text you. If you text me 10 steps, to that particular number, 704-285-1600. I'll get that out to you sometime in the next day or two. I'm going to be out enjoying West Palm Beach, so it's not broken. It's just I gotta get to it. All right. So that's basically it, man. And again, the process is extremely simple, but it's not easy. And before I go, man, I just want to know, like, when I started off with telling you guys how much of a fool I was, right? And being that I was a fool, what I did was I put myself around people who were okay with me being a fool. Okay? So I was around like-minded people. I was around people who were okay with me getting a 1.8 GPA. They didn't have a problem with that. I didn't know I was doing bad because I was around them, because they were doing worse. Okay? So in my mind, I'm doing pretty good because, hey, they doing worse. Okay? And I thought since I was going to college, as long as I was doing better than them, I must be doing good because I'm doing better than them. Okay? So I'm doing something right because I'm doing better than them. However, what was I doing? I was comparing myself with the bottom of the barrel. And what happens when you aim low? You always hit. Okay? When I wanted this business to work for me, I had to aim high. I had to change who I associated with. I had to change who I spent time with. I had to change how I spent time. I had to work harder on me, harder than I criticized others. I had to start the criticism with me. I had to take ownership of my life. I had to take responsibility of my life. I had to do what I needed to do to make this business work for me. So again, remember, the business is simple, it's not easy. And in order to make this work, because everybody's not going to close a deal in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the case may be, most people, it's going to take time. But as long as you don't give up, again, my first deal was $2,000. It took me 8 months to get that, right? So if you break that up in an hourly wage, most people would probably laugh at me. However, I knew I was onto something, and I turned that into a 7-figure business. So just always remember, things take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's my time, and I appreciate that, guys, for having me.